Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Far of depths unknown, our voice begins to rise, breaking through the noise with fire in its eyes. The spirit of adventure burning ever bright. Hold on tight, travelers, it's gonna be alright. Another week burning, halfway to the end. Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, let the tears descend. Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, night is here. Shatter the silence, conquer all your fear. Bonus Overdrive, the angels gonna scream. With Diego at the wheel, living out a dream.
It's time to find out with Diego. Let's go. Ooh, yeah.
On this episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, we're diving headfirst into the haunted heart of Des Moines, Iowa, to unearth a band that's truly a ghoulish force, Dead Don't Die. They're a unique concoction in the realms of horror punk and goth rock, blending the spectral harmonies of doo-wop with the energy of old school punk. Dead Don't Die has conjured a sound and aesthetic that will transport you to a world where energetic darkness meets unforgettable melody. All this plus more. Please welcome first-time guest and new friend, Luke from Dead Don't Die. My friend, welcome to Bonus Overdrive Wednesday.
Hey, happy to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Of course, man. You know, the minute I saw the band come up in my feed, so what I do is I stay up late at night, and I like to explore and listen to new music. And I believe yours came as recommended. So I click on that, and I've been hooked ever since. And, you know, I'm a metal guy, and I kind of dip my toes in punk every once in a while, especially like crossover punk and thrash. But you guys are doing it. And then in the spirit of what I just said, you're based in Des Moines, Iowa, which might, you know, some people might not think it's the first place that they would hear the words horror punk or a punk band. Is this a rising scene in Iowa?
So I'd say, as far as like the horror punk goes, yeah, I agree. There's not too many, nut jobs like us in Des Moines. You know, I've got a shout out to our friends Gravecore. They're out of Iowa, not Des Moines, but Iowa. And then our friends Switchblade Saturday. Both those groups kind of have that kind of macabre vibe going on. But as far as punk rock in general, there is a healthy underground scene. It's not huge, but there is a healthy underground scene here in Des Moines. I'm happy to say, you know, you got some good acts like More Cheese, Americature. Shout out my friends, you know. So there is a healthy underground scene, but just not super prevalent yet.
Not yet, of course. Well, Dead Don't Die might change that as far as also your colleagues as well. So what's the main music of choice in Iowa? I honestly, I don't know much about Iowa other than, you know, to watch the show American Pickers and here and there what you learn about Iowa, but I don't know much about the music scene in that state. What's the history of the scene there?
I mean, I'd say the prevalent like music choice is definitely country music. Not surprising, being in the Midwest United States. As far as the history, I mean, I came up when I was younger. I was a huge metalhead myself, so I came up in the metal scene. You know, I grew up on a lot of local metal acts like Callous was an old school one. We had Absolute Power, you know, groups like that. Just kind of had that old school hard rock, heavy metal vibe. So that's what I came up on growing up. And then, you know, till recently, I hadn't really dipped my toes into the punk scene. I met up with an old rendition of this band called The Miscarriages. I met up with Nasty Nate was his name. He was a bassist. And we're like, man, let's just start something. We were jamming out. We were having a good time. Like, we should hit the stage and write some songs. And that's kind of what led me more into the punk segment. Um, and my thought process at the time, man, if I'm going to play something that's not heavy metal, it's still got to have that Halloween horror movie aesthetic. So naturally, it fell into the horror punk.
It's interesting because I think punk and metal, they kind of live in the same universe. Just I think at least in the times when I was growing up in the late 70s and most of the 80s, a lot of music scenes were kind of just separated. And I think metal and punk kind of came together a little bit sometimes with the crossover bands like DRI,
Oh, yeah.
MOD, SOD, of course, Anthrax, Nuclear Assault. But not many, and I don't mean to just use this word and dispersion to anybody, but I don't think there were 100% punk bands during the 80s, maybe a few. And I think today people are rediscovering the scene. I think 90s had a touch of punk. I think it was more commercialized, I think.
Hmm.
And I think it was good. Some of the songs were great, but they were not like punk. And you guys are doing it. And before we get a little bit more into the band, what do you do in the band? Are you playing the drums? Are you singing?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much doing, I'm the band's manager, agent, social media for the most part. I mean, some of the other guys, of course, have access to all this stuff, but I'm doing a lot of that. Vocalist, songwriter, and guitarist, as far as the on stage part of it goes, is what I'm in charge of.
And was it a collective bargaining or a collective idea to come up with the horror punk aesthetics to it? Because I'm guessing, because reading from the bio, were you all fans of the old school horror movies? Is that what kind of gave it that little bit of a flair?
So, I mean, it definitely, like you mentioned, they had the old band, the Miscarriages, and we had a lot, and that was even more stripped down than Dead Don't Die is. Dead Don't Die, we do lean a little more into the goth elements occasionally, or even old school heavy metal vibes sometimes with the alternate palm muting on the guitar work. Um, but as far as so it was definitely drawn from that. And then as far as the influences, I mean, my drummer Zach and I, we both just love the horror movies of the classics. Heck, we'll listen to anything, man. At band practice, it's almost like a horror movie podcast, I tell you. In between the songs we're playing, we're shooting like, hey, did you catch this movie? No. Have you seen this movie? No. When the hell did that come out? Oh, it was in the 80s. Oh, I'll go check it out. So it's definitely a major. It was the reason I started the band, and I was just very lucky to find the musicians I have met for this project who also have that similar love of the genre.
And how long ago did the band start?
So our first show was actually just over a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
There's a indie / local music festival put on by Agony of Defeat. They're also out of Iowa, called Labor Fest. It's around Labor Day. And that was our first show, actually. So, because I knew most of the bands and promoters for that, so it just made sense. They were looking for bands. I'm like, heck, if we'll play our first show on your festival, why not? So,
And I always find interesting how members of bands come to find each other and get together. And after the first couple of jam sessions, they form something magical. How did the group come together?
so I don't know if this will be shocking or people will roll their eyes or whatever, but Craigslist. That's how I met our drummer. And then, well, we've been working with a bass player because for the longest time we've been a duo. We just really stripped it down as far as the production goes. So over the longest time, it's just been Zach and me. But we are working with a bass player. I don't want to make any announcements on who that is yet, but he has been a longtime friend of the band, so it made sense when we started working with him.
I never underestimate the power of Craigslist. And I know that's kind of I guess by now, an old school way of advertising and looking up things, because back in the day, that's when I first had my apartment or apartments after that. I used to do strictly my furniture shopping on Craigslist. And I used to sell old video games there too. So it kind of works out for some. Sometimes I've heard some stories, but worked out very well for Dead Don't Die, of course. And going back to the horror scene, because everybody has their own favorites. What era of horror movies do you like the best? As far as for me, I'm from 70s all the way through the 80s to early 90s, and I can pick and choose after that. Is there one that sticks out to you the most?
That's a hard question. Because like there's I gotta say it probably depends on my mood. Sometimes I will watch like the old Universal monsters, old school, or even older than that. If you go on YouTube, you can find some really old horror movies from like the 1900s. Even it's great. Other times I might be in the mood for like a really just good gory splatter fest. Um, Sometimes I just want an 80s slasher. So I'd say for me, it really depends on my mood. If you ask me to point out some favorite horror movies by title, I could probably do that a lot easier. But as far as the era of different the different horror years, that's a little harder for me.
And I understand because sometimes we're biased depending on what era we grew up in. So for me, I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. So of course, my heart's always going to be there. Just kind of like 80s metal and thrash and stuff like that. My heart will always be there. But yeah, so name a couple of the films. I mean, it doesn't matter what era that you like the most. It kind of influenced your writing style a little bit.
The ones that influence my writing style. I mean, those are all over the place. We have a song about the 1967 classic Spider Baby. Lon Chaney Jr. and Sid Haig were in that. Uh, and I'm ashamed to say I forgot the actresses' names because they were fantastic, especially for such an old film. They played some genuinely creepy characters. My personal favorites, though, I always think of which ones can I watch again and again. For me, it's Event Horizon, Pumpkinhead, Terrified was good. I believe it's an Argentinian or Chilean horror film. Not the Terrifier, but Terrified. And no shame on the Terrifier films, but I mean, they kind of, I don't want to say over talked about, but it seems like they have oversaturated society with the shock factor. But yeah, as far as those staples for me goes, definitely Event Horizon, Pumpkinhead, um, the OG Wolfman. Those are some I can get behind. I actually quite enjoy the Evil Dead remake, which I know some people like. You got the diehards of the classics, and like, how dare you? But that's one of those I can also just sit back and watch again and again.
I don't disagree with you now because you read my mind. The first horror movie that really got me as a young person was Bruce Campbell's Evil Dead, the first one, and I think they did great with a remake. I think the spirit of it was still there, and the aspect of the old spirit of it was there, of course, for a new audience. But I'm with you. I wouldn't hate it as much either. And then you mentioned Pumpkinhead. Man, I was just talking about Pumpkinhead with somebody yesterday. It's one of those I don't think they got the credit it deserved.
I agree. It's like, and there's a surprising amount of sequels that I hadn't even known about. So when I looked into it, I'm like, okay, because I always used to say, man, this movie needs more sequels, and it had a fair amount. What was the tagline on it? It was a new American fairy tale or something like that, or a horror fairy tale. And I was talking to my friend Zach from Cranial Nerve and Lamplight Laser Works. He's a local. He does a lot of merchandise and oddities here in Des Moines. And we were not talking about it, man. Pumpkinhead really is that new age fairy tale. You got the demons, you got the vengeful father, and you got the kids who really didn't mean to hurt anyone, but now hell's coming for them. So and then the special effects, before CGI, just having that, the practical effects behind it made it, I think, that much better.
I agree. I don't mind CGI. I'm not against CGI. Kind of works in some movies that don't, but
Right.
I like that old style. I even like claymation. I like that old style. Put a guy in a suit or have somebody come up with a tall figure and then just move it with the sticks or the strings, and then they go over the top with making the mouth move or having some poor person inside of a suit for hours at a time. And I think you get more miles out of something like that over CGI, but that's just my opinion.
That's definitely fair. I'm kind of with you there. I mean, I don't mind CGI if it's done right. You got some films where, especially when it was a new thing, where they used it too much and it looked cheesy. But I'm a sucker for a good practical effect. If you can do a horror film well with some practical effects, heck yeah, more power to you.
Oh yeah, I watch it all day long or all night long. That's in my case. And going back to when the band first started, and you cranked up the first few tunes. What were the names of those songs, and what were they about?
Oh, that's a good one. So we did print out a lot of the miscarriages days songs. You know, we had, and you can still find some of those demos out on YouTube if you wanted to go looking. Stuff like Wood Chipper or For Us All. So we did start. That was the basis for Dead Don't Die. I want to say one of the fully original that we really hammered out was Let's Start a Cult. That was definitely a fully Dead Don't Die original, not something I brought over from an old band. Our other song, we got a song out, Die Tonight. That was a definitely OG Dead Don't Die. Um, you know, so those are the top two that come into my head that were written fully for this project. Oh, we got a few kind of gothic ones that we haven't released yet, but if you want to hear them, come out and listen to us live. Stuff like Gothic, I Love You, Gothic Girl, Bleed for You, are definitely Dead Don't Die originals, and those kind of lean towards more the goth rock vibe, less of the punk. But I love all the songs we play, man, and anything with dark and macabre, I can get behind. So
And the fan base for this is tremendous. And not to repeat myself, I was at a convention yesterday, and there were a lot of movie directors and actors there from horror movies. Everyone was having a lot of fun. Nobody really takes these kind of things seriously because it's meant to be fun, right? And sometimes it is serious. We have serious people that they live and die by this. Because I'm warming up to Let's Start a Cult. Not that horror fans are a cult. Please don't get me wrong, because people take things wrong all the time when I say things and I stumble on my words. But let's talk about that song. Was that are we who or what are we talking about? Are we talking like Jim Jones cult kind of thing?
So I mean, with the artwork and our stage show, we had a friend of ours come out dressed as a Jim Jones lookalike
Oh
for that
crap!
song,
See, I knew it.
and he would, oh man, it's great. You want to see? We try to have fun with it, you know. I'm definitely not one of those people who takes what we do too seriously. I mean, I'm singing about cutting people up in our basement and monsters and hell and devils. Like you can't be too serious with that. I mean, you got to be able to be goofy sometimes. Um, so there's definitely that. I mean, so it's kind of evolved for me as I was writing it. Like it just started out as it was a phrase I was just saying, and that's how most of my songs start. I'll hear a phrase, or I'll talk about a phrase, or there's a movie title where the cadence is just right, and it just bounces like, okay, that's a song. That's a song title, and probably a chorus in there. And that's what happened with Let's Start a Cult. I kept talking about Let's Start a Cult. It was like a joke we were throwing around, some buddies and me, and I'm like, well, damn, if that isn't a song title, I don't know what is. So I sat down, started writing it. And I mean, I try to leave it open to personal interpretation, but I will put my interpretation of it out there, I suppose. For me, I see a lot of cult like mentalities all over the place these days, especially whether it's politics, religion, whether it's sports teams, fandoms, even. I agree, most horror fans aren't cult status, but there are some people who it's like, who do take it too seriously, I think. And it is kind of like a cult like mentality at that point where it's like, okay, let's take a step back. It's okay. This is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. So that's what it's like for me. Definitely the society as a whole, there's a lot of little cult like mentalities out there where people get too involved with something. It's like, just chill, just breathe.
No, in a way, talking a little bit about myself because when I was an '80s guy, I was metal or nothing, and I think I missed out on a lot of good music. But I think I'm about 95% metal. I'll give a chance for 5 more percent. So I don't want to be in a cult myself. Although it was fun at the time. And speaking of super fans, and when a band first cuts into a scene, and there are other bands out there they're established or better established, they have a lot of longevity. In comes a new band. Being Dead Don't Die, about a year and a half, you said you've been around. How have the fans embraced the band? Good positive vibes, reviews.
I'd say so. I mean, I haven't heard anything too disparaging from the fans. I mean, you got the people looking in who of course don't get it and like, oh my gosh, that song's terrible, or oh my gosh, what are you singing about, holy, did you just say that? But for the fans themselves, the people in the scene, it's been pretty good, pretty accepting. You know, we made definitely a lot of friends, playing around the country, just trying to have a good time. Met a lot of cool people. So far we've seen to have been accepted. From what I can tell, no one's come out and protested our shows or said, "Man, you suck," quite yet. So
Oh, there's always a troll out there, you know, always doing something. They do it to me too all the time. They just did it to me on YouTube. I love the review though, so I'm okay with it. And well, and going back to that, let's talk about the name Dead Don't Die. And then we're talking about horror movies. Are we? 'Cause the minute I saw that name, Dead Don't Die, I'm thinking, well, if we're talking about horror movies, well, Freddy don't die, Jason don't die, and zombies don't die. Well, that's kind of the vibe behind the name.
yeah, I get that question a lot with the name, and I'll be honest, it kind of came out of nowhere. I know we've had multiple people ask us, like, was that based on the movie with Bill Murray? And it wasn't. I didn't even know there was a movie by the title. I was just sitting around one day trying to think of cool band names, and I'm like, okay, you know, just looking at the almost formulaic. I hate to say it, but I did kind of approach it from a formula. Like, okay, you got the one word or the three word, usually do best. And it was going to be Dead Don't Cry originally, but you know, DDC versus Triple D. I mean, Triple D just flowed better. So I went Dead Don't Die. Went on Google. I'm like, okay, is there a band called Dead Don't Die? No, there's a horror movie. There's a few songs. Okay, I'm cool with this. So that's where the name kind of came from.
No, and I think with the artwork that I saw, I think it lives up to the name for sure. And what does a typical Dead Don't Die show look like?
So, I mean, if you come to our shows, and we try to have it theatrical, but also grounded, we definitely want that punk rock vibe, with a little, like, you know, little bit of flair, a little bit of theatrics. So, we do try to stick to the music without being too gimmicky, but you know, we're a horror punk band. I'm not taking it too seriously, so we got to have some fun. Like I said, we'll have we've had belly dancers dressed up as devils. We've had people dressed up as Jim Jones lookalikes and Shaun of the Dead lookalikes. We have an alien we bring with us, an inflatable little green man named Eddie the Alien, and I think poor Eddie has died every one of our shows except for two. There's been two shows where a lady grabs him and cuddles him instead of letting him get destroyed. But normally we sacrifice Eddie to the pit. They'll bop him around a little bit and then smash his face in. And it's like, oh, there goes Eddie. So we do try to keep it streamlined punk with a little bit of theatrics and have some fun with it too.
Oh crap! Listen, you just reminded me of something. No, and I love what you're doing. Were you talking about the inflatable alien, or
Mhm.
back in the day, early 2000s? Seems like only yesterday. Buddies of mine, we were at this bar in North Carolina. I think it was called Good Times. So you know that's a good bar. They guarantee a good time. It had the coldest beer on the East Coast, so they can't lie about that. So they had all these inflatable things. It was a spring summer flare where they had palm trees inflated, fish, sharks. Well, I had a friend took the shark off the ceiling, and then he started doing pretty lewd things to the shark. We got kicked out of there. It's not even important to this story, but you kind of reminded me about the alien and inflatable objects, and I think you took it too far. But that's a punk attitude, though, right? You know, sometimes.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, man, it was too many Coors Light that night, or too many, whatever that drink was, zombies. Oh, terrible.
Oh,
They're
man.
so good, but they're terrible for you. So now that I know we're talking about, we talk about 2025, and it's quickly, I mean, this year's flown by. What are your plans as far as studio is concerned for the rest of this year? Are we looking for something releasing a few more songs for 2025, or are we looking towards 2026?
So we are trying to get at least 2 more songs released. Goal is to take the songs we released, throw it on CD, old school DIY vibe, you know, throw it on our merch table, 5-track EP. So one of our songs is on a Christmas compilation. We did write a song about the mighty Krampus.
Awesome.
Punishing the bad boy. So that'll be dropping. Actually, that one I believe is already on Bandcamp. I Rejected Youth Records out of Nebraska. Our friend Anthony from River City Rejects runs that camp, and so that's already out on Bandcamp. If y'all want to go take a listen, It's Krampus. It's on their Christmas compilation, and I know we got some CDs and cassettes coming in for that as well. We're going to release it on our Spotify and whatnot a little closer to the season. And then we have been working on a duet with a certain succubus from here in Des Moines. I don't want to drop the name quite yet, but we have been working on a duet. It is about everyone's favorite William Shatner mask-wearing horror movie villain, Michael Myers. So I'll give you guys the title. It's The Ballad of the Shape. That'll be coming. Hopefully, we're trying to rush around and get that done to release here soon, too. So for sure, working on getting those two out for everyone before the end of the year.
I'm already excited, but like I said, you guys are very creative. You put out a good quality product for everybody to enjoy, and I think we need that nowadays. I think we've gotten too serious, a little too mean. I think it's time just to let our hair down a little bit and just enjoy life.
Totally agree. Like I said, you can't be too serious when you're singing about Christmas demons and men running around wearing masks, killing people.
So I can get behind some Christmas demons. I watch every year now since it came out. I own the Krampus movie that came out, and the gingerbread scene just tickles me, man.
That whole cast was great. Weren't most of those guys on a SNL or something? I think most of the actors in that one.
I think so, but man, what a hoot! I'm telling you, it had
It's
Berta
great.
from
It
Two and a
was
Half
great.
Men on there, and that sold it for me. So now, as we come in towards the end of the show, and I'm going to play one of my favorite songs that you have out currently. Let's start a cult, and let's say you and we sat down together by a campfire. It doesn't have to be a campfire in a pub or in a restaurant. And I say, you know what, Luke, I have an idea. Let's say you and we start a cult. Not for entertainment purposes only. What would be our first steps?
Well, I mean, I imagine you'd find someone who is registered to be some sort of preacher, which, fun fact, I am. I am one of those online churches. I took a course just to be available for friends and family. They were looking for an officiant. I'm like, I'll become official, whatever. So you do that. God, I'm probably end up on an FBI watch list after this, but I am certified to be an officiant. Man, I've always talked about if I was going to start a church, it would have heavy music. Our communion would be, this was when I was drinking. I don't drink much anymore, but when I was drinking, it'd be shots of whiskey and ribs, barbecue ribs. And, oh man, we just say, what was Dimebag Darrell? Let's just say, get your pole. That would be our thing.
I'll get behind a barbecue cult any day, brother. You're singing my song there. And, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show. And what I like to do, if you don't mind, in 2026, because I know you have all these secret things that are going to happen. You can't reveal them yet. Once they are revealed, recorded, and released, would you love to come back on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday and talk about it?
Hell yeah. I'd love to come back, bro.
Hell yeah, brother. I really appreciate your time. And for our listeners, Dead Don't Die. Let's start a cult on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday right now.
Come, my children, got a story to tell. You don't listen, you could end up in hell. Heard the good Lord and I heard him say, so the violence must be okay. Another sip. If you do, you know you'll find eternal bliss. Come along, just sacrifice your life to me. If you do, you're gonna set your spirit free. Oh, let's start a cold. Let's start a cold, baby. Let's start a cold. Let's start a cold, baby. sacrifice your life and pledge allegiance to the edge of my knife. Don't dare to stop or wonder, question why. If you do, you know that you will surely die. Oh, let's start a cold. Let's start a cold, baby. Let's start a cold. Oh, let's start a cold. Let's start a cold, baby. Let's start a cold. Let's start a cold.
All content on this broadcast is a property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. The information shared on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.